post-plant scenario. So that's what I've got my eye on. The first half, whether or not Northeption, we're going to see them continue with the trend that we saw on map 1, which is some early round aggression.
Let's see if they can pick themselves up and carry on as they mean to, but already lovely early information there going to come through. Stacks, truly noted, has to quell a little, and not just Stacks, you can see it. Beautiful intent here. The DRX not really swaying from their initial cause either, continuing as they mean to go on. As one of the observers, give me a heart attack, how dare you.
Early exchange really followed through on either side here. Attack will come through onto Blackwiz though on the jump peak. We'll think better of that for the time being as DRX now want to follow through on that. Fault line will slow down Hooker where the emphasis is actually for DRX right now.
I like this, the kind of swing of the pendulum. First contact towards Long and the pressure there, but now they swing through and Zest with a sharp shot. Takes down Jojo and the site's theirs. And they've got to know they're still players, tucked in over by Octagon as well. Buzz set up for it too. Waiting on the other side of that smoke will be not just one but two players. Support en route as well, and I do wonder if Stacks does hear, consider, note any of this. As already this is looking very, very good for DRX. It's looking very clean as well. Blackwiz desperate for it, and he's not going to find it. Meteor now, the last one standing in a 1v5. And man, the odds are not looking pretty. Stacks slowly creeping in. He wants this, and there it is. It's all his. Flawless beginnings.
Absolutely, it's interesting to see this setup. Jojo kind of oversteps the mark here. He is the kind of contingency. If they don't find any value from this double stack on Long, he needs to play his life on site. You can see just how free it is for DRX to find this entry. I mean, even if he finds this first, the emphasis for DRX is Hooker. There's 4 swinging through, so I don't want to say a little frustrating there, but maybe an oversight here from Northeption, opting one way or the other, not keeping in mind that contingency.
Yeah, no, could have really proved to be so much of a problem there. We do have what we love, Mike, one of your favorites. It's a tech pause.
Nice and early.
Nice and early. We had it nice and late.
Yeah, nice and late in the first, but
nice and early
here
here.
For the second. Maybe that wasn't an observer giving you a heart attack. You never know.
How dare you? How dare you do it? But let's kind of then leaning a little bit more towards the compositions that you were highlighting at the start and kind of our expectations of delivery on either side and what can be some of those win conditions you could see realistically coming through. Like, what do you see here being something that could potentially really work for Northeption? Let's start with that, right? Let's start with what they need to achieve here, because it's a curveball of a comp if you're looking at any other region, at least in my mind. For
sure. I mean, it comes back to one of the points I made in the first half, which is early on they need to challenge this attacking default of DRX, which is a tall order to say the least. Now, the problem being they need to utilize their utility in a completely different way. They can't really look to kind of sponge up some of this early contact towards sites. They have to put Meteor in a position to find success, right? Early on here, planting the seeds, he's going to be flanking. DRX have already made the consideration that. It makes it even easier once they find the first blood. Once they have that man advantage, they can dedicate somebody back towards their flank watch, because it's not going to be Buzz in this scenario.
No.
The pseudo-duelist.
So then let's kind of I guess don't even need to flip the coin really. It's kind of explained as one when you look at the two comps what needs to be achieved. But
well, the other thing is you look back and actually statistically this is one of Northeption's worst retaking maps. So you then put that in there. If DRX are going to get themselves into a position to find first bloods, get the spike down, you then look towards the comp and you think, okay, DRX have a number of different ways to play these post plants. They have so much utility to run the clock down in that post plant scenario. So really looking towards Northeption doing something that even regionally they haven't been able to achieve on this map, which is find success ahead of the spike reaching a site.
Okay, well, so let's then keep that in mind. We'll check back in varying points throughout this game and see if we're seeing any of those key components being met, being touched in on. Now, then going, it's kind of hard because then I still find it hard to see Northeption making it out of this map unless they really hit some of those key moments for themselves here or find some brilliance off that neon, find some real work off it, because again, I'm just not all in on that, but I'm happy to be, shown a new way, right? I'm happy to see something new.
It goes without saying, if you're going to run the neon, it's not kind of been your forte, your go-to, very, the shining success that some teams have demonstrated with it.
Absolutely.
You look towards the defensive half and how they can utilize that to at least keep things close, put yourselves in a position where, I mean, if you come out with an 8-4 here, similar to the first half, you then have to expect a lot out of those early rounds because the economy can decide it in the blink of an eye. It can come down to the first buy round, the bonus round. If damage is done, that can ultimately be your demise.
No, you're absolutely right. And then kind of expanding kind of a bit bigger picture, but also back to what the desk was talking about when we looked at Northeption going into map 1. They didn't look like a team in my eyes, and this is why I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well, is they don't look like a team who's a bit nervous to step on the stage. I feel like they lacked a little bit of that adaptation once they hit the brakes, and they needed to hit that next level to go to readdress, recounter. But they didn't look scared. They were coming out with some really nice, aggressive, kind of in-your-face plays, and I liked seeing that. I liked seeing Meteor being quite the highlight player here as well.
The biggest positive you could see is Northeption taking some of these rounds into their own hands and being decisive. And that's exactly what we saw early on in Ascent, and actually early on in the second half of Ascent, when they had a mountain to climb to get back into it. They came down to that Thrifty round. That was it, and that was, I don't want to say a little overzealous on that part, but maybe just a little slip up. Excellently played by RB to counter that early first blood, in position to greet the site hit, but there was definitely some positives from what we saw from Northeption. Hands down.
And again, this is, you're only going to learn these sort of lessons when you're doing it live, right? Like the best practice will always be doing it live, and when you first come to these events, being able to identify the rounds you need to really lock down, really make sure none of those issues occur, you know, similar to losing kind of against ecos, make sure your anti-ecos are robust as hell. Now, of course, things can go wrong. You know, RB could have a round regardless. You could have the most secure anti-eco round, but you could still have problems. But again, I'd love to see that be a step in the evolution, because we're only in the group stage. Again, this is very early doors in the entire event. We're just getting to know these teams again. Yes, we know DRX more. We've seen them more. We've been several events now, but Northeption coming in already doing a nice little bit of a debut here.
And the desk touched on some of the things that I've felt every time we've seen DRX internationally, right? It's what form are we going to see early on? Notoriously slow to start, then they kind of build up to a point where they almost play unorthodox to what we see them do back in their own region.
Sure.
So for DRX to come through here with a cleaner win in the opener, definitely fills you with confidence, but we then look towards the consistency. The questions then come back towards RB. Can he maintain? Does he let his foot off the gas? And in that regard, I mean, it comes down to Marco, actually one of the ones to follow right behind Buzz in terms of pound-for-pound stats.
Yes. Yes, and I think that is a question that I don't think we're going to have to necessarily address here unless things go terribly wrong, right? It's like, even if it goes third map for them, I still don't think we get those answers.
We'd be having a very different conversation if Northeption took Ascent.
Correct. That would be absolutely the case. But it is something when I look at DRX, we do have to now treat them as a deep run tournament team. And as you've noted, guys, obviously the issue's taking a little longer. So thank you for your patience at home. You know, we welcome you back. It's why they put us on first for the podcast. You're super welcome, because we don't have one of those, but one of the other casting pair does. But still, RB for me is going to be a player to keep our eyes on deep run, because the one bonus now that we're in that territory of, okay, well, we've had a couple of international events. We've, you know, God bless you guys for putting up the round 1 highlights. It's short and sweet, but we do get to kind of now get to look at these teams with different perspective, right? And that's the whole beauty of international events, is we know the DRX can make decent runs, so we hold them to that standard.
Yeah, and even beyond that, we still hold them to their regional standard. Early on, they were touted. It was like the Korean Kings of Valorant, very early on, right, with that early streak. And like I said, we just never saw them achieve that same stability internationally.
No.
It continues to be the question.
There can only be so few to truly reach that greatness, though. And again, as much as DRX are constantly touted as one of the teams that could, there are so many others that are doing it pretty much live, right? Like, we've seen so many teams now improving. But fortunately enough for you guys at home, you don't have to listen to us purely anymore. There is a game for us to talk about, which is so much better, and we're back into round 2. So thank you for being so calm and collected. You love to see it. And we go and try and find some of the answers to the questions we were just discussing.
Northeption once again happy to stack 2 towards, and it's the early intention that we look for in this defensive setup for Northeption. Actually, Zenfree looking to explore a little towards short. Marco actually going to set up Fnatic-esque lineup here, actually, towards B site here. DRX not too quick behind it. RB gets himself into a position. Will find the first and the second. Actually, Blackwiz will fall. The fault line is coming in half a second behind the pace here. The utility investment. Look how much it's just to smother the site here, allow safe passage.
And it's lovely, isn't it? If you think about it, even just, you know, in the most simplistic terms. Okay, Stacks, fair enough. Fair enough, dude. That's unfortunate, Jojo. It feels bad, but Again, even just the Viper utility coming in, clearing corners, making it so much more comfortable on those Spectres and odds and ends they still have, which is substantially better than the other side, but it clears these ratty little corners that could have had potentially something like that waiting. However, we look at what remains. It's not a great deal, and it's even less now. Meteor just with that recovered Spectre and 4 to try and clear on the way out. Feels like more of a formality than any sort of real odds here. As you can already see, they've pretty much got him locked in.
Double stack here. Zest will be the one to find the headshot, but a well-considered round here. Good damage control from DRX, 4 survive. See Buzz carrying across that Ghost. Will throw a rifle in the mix for this round 3. So actually a really good opportunity here. Better than the previous for DRX to try and convert this. RB with some key early progress towards that showstopper as well. And not an awful lot to write home about on the side of Northeption. Just the one shorty kill from Meteor.
And the eyes of Laz overwatching on the posters. And RB back to business. Oh, Zest bodies.
An upgrade there as well.
Yes, and it's available. You could get your hands on it. It's not a million miles away. Can't be policed too easily either. Yes, can be watched from CT, but RB's going to be probably putting that together as well. Oh, he's away. Look at this man's moves. He's quick to it. But he's handled, dealt with. Maybe even caught a glimpse of another player towards Hookah, but no surprises there. And Buzz gives him the drive-by. Jojo this time desperate for it, but they actually line up. The timing's good for Blackwiz to swing through. Finds the pinch perfectly. This ain't pretty, but it's getting the job done. Finally, they've dealt with them a little disjointed on the way out there.
If it's not for Blackwiz, it feels like DRX have passage once again onto B side. Found the entry pretty easily. Again, this timing of the breach utility from Jojo just slightly off once again. I'm not sure why it's Derry Alley to be the one hunting here or trying to play on the back of it. Blackwiz just tucked inside that smoke previously. Spammed, I think it was actually Jojo in the previous. It was looking for something here, but Northeption prevent a bonus round from DRX and force out this repurchase.
Right there.
No presence shown towards A whatsoever. I mean, other than this Viper utility from Marco. He once again, and yep, now we have the free camp to show, as I said. Now we're headed over towards Garden. Just to allow a little further progress. Either forces somebody towards the TP or forces them a little deeper. Just to prevent any peek coming through. You can see it's Buzz and Stacks to come through. The flash actually perfect here, and
really
look at
nice.
that. Rewarded for it. Clean opener for DRX.
And it's so methodical, Mike. It's step by step. It's crafted from the start. Full intent behind it. Stunning work. That's the first pick achieved above a minute still.
Yeah, lots of time to allow Northeption to sweat a little bit, feel the heat.
Wouldn't mind them getting proactive though. Maybe try and get a little bit of room back on the map to be able to cheat a player over, because they still have 3 towards that A site, leaving it all to 1. The Chamber holding down towards Shower, very committed and
very committed.
Yeah. Now
obviously got the TP to get out of jump, but
sure,
it's going to be a double swing coming through. And we've already seen Stacks set things up with the utility. To be the Trailblazers come through, force Zenfree a little deeper.
Well, they've noted him. We do know that there's the rotation, right? Meteor's made his way over. That was off the back of the 2 players going exploring, but now they're going to thread the needle. And this timing could be everything. Maybe they could at least catch something. No, Zest, all too aware. Going to punish on the way through, and Stacks again notes another. Couldn't quite deal with it that time, but the plants coming in. DRX hyper mobile away they're approaching this, and Meteor just left towards CT.
Yeah, I mean, Buzz just finds that second kill at the most awkward timing for Northeption.
Yep.
You're almost trying to achieve too many things at once here.
Teleport's ready.
What's important is it's another round we haven't seen them try and put Meteor in a power position to at least entertain these first buds, right? And that's why it's key for this lineup we're talking about from Market all the way towards B long. Kind of prevents some of these early contact points that you might expect to see Meteor swinging out from. Problem being, it's Jojo's playing towards backside, back towards CT, towards the spawn arch. It's just so difficult unless everybody's invested. We did see that investment on Ascent. Saw the flashes come through to tiles, the dash through. There was 2 or 3 people swinging behind it, not just leaving Meteor on an island. But here we haven't.
No, and that is something I'm going to keep my eye on now, is how much of an island is he left on, or is how much is facilitated for him, set up by him. Again, when we first saw the team starting to run Neon, you saw that it's not just the one-man show, it's the team behind it, right? And even this, like the early control, the early work, he could have gone on potentially towards B-Long, obviously instantly denied with that 5 utility, the flash, and the presence behind it, but they're loving it. What a great day. But again, I want to see this brought to use. If you're going to run a Neon, show me the intent behind it. Show me what you got in mind, because for now, DRX are dictating the pace quite comfortably, to my mind, at least in these early rounds. So far, Buzz and Zest looking pretty good on the board as well. Nothing too, spectacular to write home about, but a comfortable start will get the confidence high. But Northeption going to hit the brakes here early. And maybe rightly so. Just try and check through some early protocol or something to check in.
Sure, but we lean now towards a position DRX have got themselves into where they can lean towards much more coordinated site hits, right? This is all very, very bread and butter. They're setting up the snake bite to get B-Long control. There's nothing really... I mean, Northeption are giving these first bloods a million miles away from the site here.
Yes.
So if DRX now get themselves into a position where they have the Orbital Strike, the Showstopper, the Seekers, the Viper Spit as well, they then have that kind of switch up where they actually will rely more on a choreographed site here. That's when Northeption have to greet that and adjust accordingly. And it's on the fly, that's the problem.
Yeah, this does feel like one of those...
DRX haven't had to work too hard.
No, they haven't.
That's the thing.
They've had their way where they've wanted to go. I felt like the last round could have had some danger to it, but they handled it perfectly. They had no issues. With that said, early, mid, or late round, like everything's been pretty solid. They've been achieving what they need. Now again, this is where the game could potentially spiral, because we saw Northeption on their map choice, right? Map 1 was their choice. This is where we're walking to DRX territory, where it's like, okay, you're seeing a really robust side. It's still early doors, but we need to see Northeption get a bit of a grip on the game, and I don't know if it's going to be particularly this round to do it. You're going to see a stack towards B, and that's about it. And already, DRX, they ain't there.
Down at the mini-map here, there's going to be no resistance on the way in. Well, Buzz is even going to get an early indicator of this. Now, I like it on the Thrifty here. Northeption to try and get something. Like I said previously, DRX have shown next to no presence towards A other than Marco in market. Not words you want to be saying back to back, but Northeption unfortunately are just not going to get it. You can even see the position of the trap here. It's in anticipation of aggression coming through hookup.
And they're still going through the protocol list. You can see it, the fully scripted hit. No chance is really taken there by DRX. They're still going to go through the protocols perfectly, take side control, get everything they need, and now it's going to be a 5v5 post plant and a retake with very limited amounts. 2 rifles, the Bulldog and the full-on rifle there, and you can see Meteor going to try and get himself into maybe a position to do some damage, but again, slippery DRX, not going to give you an easy fight, and Buzz going to find comfort in all that mayhem. As again, we are down to 2. It's not looking likely.
If they keep it flawless here, it's just going to be such an overwhelming advantage here. Buzz actually will fall now. Zemfree finds it. Sacks. Find that one. Actually just trying to get the half stick through. There, Ali trying to get a bit cheeky with it. That will be DRX putting their 4th on the board. Only Buzz to fall. Tour de Force available. Something to offset the purchase here, if they even deem necessary at this point. As you can see now, looking very healthy. So it now gets worse from here because DRX, like I said, Seekers online now. They can look towards isolating one of these opening engagements.
Yep.
Viper's bit getting closer and closer. And the Showstopper as well. So lots of curveballs to throw at Northeption where they haven't really been able to grasp any early round control.
No, and then this is where I need to see what that timeout was for, really. See what they've come up with in the meantime. Again, I don't have high hopes, though. As you can already see, that protocol list is still facilitating similar scenes. Over this time, Meteor again on his own. You noticed before, Jojo deep towards CT, and then the kind of stack the player towards long, and away goes RB. Tries to find one and sends it. Couldn't quite get Meteor. Does a little bit of chip damage. Spots him on the way out. Knows Jojo was nearby, but Jojo still does what he needs. Finds RB, and the trade comes in. And DRX take the site. Jojo's gone. Meteor's still alive, but it is just so quick, and it's so concise.
So Zemfree going to pop his Tour de Force in response as well. Try and make something from this retake. Meteor tagged up 61 HP already. Still lots of utility to work for DRX as well. And this Molly going to slow things down.
They have to commit.
What? Oh, Zest is caught sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely perfect timing. And Marco could be doing this perfectly. Oh, yeah, he is. It's Marco, of course. Plays the smoke to a T. And now the final player makes it through from CT, and Marco greets them as well. DRX completing the mission perfectly here for themselves. 5-1, a very commanding scoreline here in map 2 if you're just tuning in. And again, this is DRX's choice, and you're seeing very much as to why.
Absolutely. Total control so far. Even there where it's, I mean, yes, there's a mistake on the way back through, but it doesn't really affect him. Marco cleans it up perfectly. That's in the freebie onto Dairy Alley. Finds the final kill onto Meteor. It's interesting to see once again, it's Jojo still tucked so deep on site. And even here to put Meteor in hooker, you almost want to set him up. Ooh,
this is better.
Better.
Okay, we want to see intent behind Meteor, right? Give him support, facilitate something, but instantly
so
dealt
quickly.
with. Yeah.
This is the thing, this default from DRX, it's... Actually, did Buzz even spot that? It looks like he wasn't aware.
Okay.
Seemingly completely unaware right now, because Dairy Alley's getting very close.
Dairy do really well here, yeah. Stunner of a shot. Plus the damage backs away, but it's instantly evened out on the other side of the map. Now there was a second string to it. Test. Fair enough. 40 HP. And well, it's all on Meteor. They've got to know he was around here earlier. Could have rotated. Didn't. It's a classic, and it's done very nicely.
Upgrade as well, but the plant comes through. Actually, investment on the side of Northeption to try and prevent any early control in this post-plant scenario. But the Viper Spit goes up. It's a straight 3v3, and going to give the advantage here to DRX when you look at the minimap.
Oh yeah, it's going to mitigate what Blackwiz was trying to do potentially. He's still going to have to work his way forward. Again, time is so favourable now. Stax needs to be a little careful here. Still going to hold his own. Takes away Blackwiz from the equation.
This could get interesting, though.
Yeah, really? Didn't spot him.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Maybe there was some method to the madness that I didn't realise, but it does come down to one. But it stacks, and he's fine. And as is that scoreline.
DRX stabilised there initially, but a little bit weird to sit back and watch that. Also, got to question the investment here come through. Oh, it's a left-handed model moment. That's why. It was a left-handed weapon model moment. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
You got to question the investment there, because as soon as the Viper Spit goes up, you don't gain an awful lot.
Mike.
Yeah.
Do you know what else I'm questioning?
The double up?
Yeah, it's a bit of an investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because it's Meteor, because it leans back on what we've been talking about, which is not really putting him in a position to really get much done.
No.
Then you see the snake bite come through, and this is now DRX toying with Northeption. They're putting these early indicators out. Exactly. It's this conditioning already coming to fruition for DRX.
Used to call it fear of the nade. If you did the nade 4 times in a row, they'd fear it on the 5th. They'd still keep worrying about it. If you keep doing that same utility, they're still going to keep reading into it. However, they've explored beyond, but Buzz is still connected his shot. Traded out, Meteor is going to do damage from the back lines, but by now you can see that spike plant is coming in. RB's out, and we're in a post plant.
No, actually, no utility for them to sit back and play lineup. So, obviously, Stax looking eager to try and find a kill inside this smoke. And actually, the Rolling Thunder comes through, might give it opportunity.
Huge timing for RB.
There's nothing found on the back of it, Lauren.
No, you're right. Marco tucked in the corner, never got punished. Meteor, straight up zero vision.
And just to come back to questioning this, at the pace of this game, the double operator is not going to do an awful lot. Like I said, DRX are finding these clean engagements on the back of just pretty basic. Yes, the lineups are cute, but it's pretty basic investment. Right? They're not doing anything special to find this early map control.
I don't think they've been pushed to yet.
No.
I think they're pretty happy kind of running through this. Yeah, they haven't had to sit that next string of evolution, because really, sadly for Northeption, it feels like they're running out of gas here. And this is when you start seeing teams who can make deeper runs and teams who are making their debut, right? This is where you start seeing the difference in amount, be it in the depth of map pool, be it in the depth of, you know, the age and select. Any aspect of the game can give such an edge at this level. And well, we're going walkouts.
I was feeling a little desperate on the side of Northeption. So here with not an awful lot invested. A couple of sheriffs, a judge in the hands of Meteor. This time positioned towards A site. Actually, take the TP. Didn't even look intentional with where he was facing on the mini-map, but come through, we'll draw out the Seekers, and Zenfree desperately trying to get himself towards B site will be revealed. He's going to paint a picture here, and DRX fancy themselves to come through. Actually, the stun actually does land onto Zen3 and he's punished for it.
Yeah, he is. Now, they've noted one more towards CT. I don't know about the second. The Seekers could have almost given them a weird perspective, but they're so hyper vigilant towards Meteor, who's just on the other side of this. Buzz, 1 pixel out of place, and that could be the player gone.
One enemy remaining.
Doesn't need to see it. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's one of those days, and welcome to the big leagues. Northeption, this is rough.
It is now. We enter round 10. This will be everything out, and you now look at the ultimates as well. Yes, the orbital strike's going to come, but there's not been enough of a dent here. Nobody's really found success anywhere on the side of Northeption. This is the point where actually we come towards the end of this half, and it becomes even more difficult to then say to Jojo or Blackwards, okay, guys, let's put Meteor in a position to try and frag out, address this backline of DRX.
I mean, this is the foretelling of what you were worried about, right? That Meteor wasn't going to get as much support and kind of see him teed up to find moments. And honestly, Northeption just look a little flat in comparison. And DRX striding through this game already. And we do see a slightly deeper hold coming in from Zen3, so that could be something. See if you can do a little bit of damage, but again, the protocol list from DRX is pretty robust. Surprising if they don't diligently check through. Smoke's going to come in towards the site, force a little bit of utility, and there it is. So already going to know his position, forcing way towards the back of the site. Oh, he slowed down on the roll.
Yep.
Yep. It works. And Spike Plant going to come in. Again, this is... It's so meticulous from DRX.
Huge investment at this point. I mean, look at the snake bite on the other side of it as well. So difficult for Northeption to find their way back into this, but Zen3 actually find one through the smoke.
Even trades are still difficult to make it work here. Meteor and Blackwood still need to do something beyond what we've seen so far, and I just don't know if they've got it left in them. Finds one, but then look at the backline. You still got Buzz there and Zest, and they're not going to give it up. DRX, large and very much in charge.
Definitely got the wind in their sails now.
Yeah.
And we'll struggle to get anything done here. Meteor does have his ultimate again, but previously, I mean, even then, there wasn't an awful lot of investment to get him a first blood or get him a favorable engagement. And this was the blind kill I was talking about here, which was, yeah, ridiculous.
Hey, you need a kill at this point, because keep in mind, not a singular player from Northeption right now has broken above 5 kills.
I mean, they're all either double negative or worse.
Yeah, so there's
nothing pretty about this half.
Nah, DRX fans though, really happy, really pleased. Because you need a solid win, again, for them. If you're looking at it this way, in my mind, you want to come in and kind of play to your own standard.
It's just crazy. DRX never exposed themselves in the early rounds. Nope. It just, I don't know, I'm saying yes, they need to put Meteor in a position to find value from, but it's so hard against DRX.
Yeah, it's not one of the teams that will give you those chances, those opportunities. It's not like anyone's surprised by Neon coming out, and you know what you're up against, but DRX just by default are exceedingly strong at catching that sort of thing, and they have been the entire time. I don't feel as though they've been caught off once by any of these attempts and forays at aggression that we've seen come through.
Michael just missed the timing on short, but it's not really played a factor too much in some of these rounds, and it looks like he's actually just going to tuck up. He's got no weapon to upgrade to anyway, so with the Sheriff he plays it through with. To deal with the trap coming through as DRX find themselves straight onto B site. Jojo actually gets ahead of the smoke here to try and get something done. And actually gets revealed by the trap ahead of the smoke as well. Zest wise to it. Also playing inside audio queue for the trap, and it's 10-1 now. Not Northeption even get a consolation.
No, there's no mercy.
No.
It's get to the end goal. These guys are focused as all hell. DRX, not messing around, not missing a beat.
And look at where they're playing. At this point in the round, they know exactly what Northeption need to do.
Yep.
They hit, they see the ults, they see exactly what's going to happen. As soon as that early fault line comes through, they just take a couple of steps back, and they're able to absorb it perfectly.
Okay. Let's see if silver lining can be found. Any kind. Any kind of silver lining would be very nice here. Wouldn't be much. But I'm a little bit worried about the mental as well for Northeption. Getting a game like this against you, a map like this, very hard to keep that focus going forward.
I mean, Doug made the point perfectly before this game started, right? Northeption have shown regionally, at least they bounced back from a post-match. But this is brutal. Again, Don't really ever want to draw DRX in round 1 of any international event, but
Not really.
this is about as bad as it could be.
There.
Early progress outside showers here, a very deep hold all day. Does catch Zest off guard. Stacks as an entertainer, but actually, Marco with the swing through. Trade one back
Scrappy
through,
enough.
but look how far RB's got.
There's still such good progress being made, even in that scrappy fight that did happen out the back of the shower. Now, look at the numbers game, though. There is still a chance in this, but they've got to kind of recorrect that they're just out of this game. They still need to be fighting the good fight for this and got to keep themselves poised.
Viper's bit. Yeah, comes up off the plant, yep.
Great timing. And again, further problems going to be presented. As, well, let's see if they can find anything here.
Still so far away from this as well. They're so anxious of these close angles.
And
Marco
Marco,
finds the first and the second.
yeah, looking solid as a rock. Black Wiz, though, the last one alive. No 1v2. A tap on the spike, but no one really overstepping. Comfy work. DRX are looking untouchable in this half.
Absolutely clinical from them. Very few mistakes made. And you got to say as well, Northeption, they didn't make an awful lot of mistakes. They were just simply played out of this half. It was DRX in the driving seat from the get-go.
No, you're absolutely spot on. This has been a very one-sided affair, at least in map 2 here. Analyst desk, good luck with this one.
Thank you very much for that, Pansy and Hypog. I feel like there's a bit of a synergy diff, especially with the utilities and the composition that we're seeing between DRX and Northeption, and it's a little bit rough right now for one of them.
I think rough is an understatement. I think if you were sitting there watching that match and you were watching the absolute tumble dry upon which Northeption was going through, I think there's a very big lesson to be learned here. And we heard Black Wiz in the press conference yesterday say, we're here to learn, we're here to gain experience. Well, if that doesn't give you experience, I don't really know what will. And it also was a very messy sort of matchup to begin with. I think from start to end, North was trying to put aggression on the board that just wasn't working. And then they kept slamming their head against the wall, hoping that eventually it would work.
Yeah, they learned.
They learned.
Learning and experience, and boy, did they learn. They learned what it was like to just get absolutely destroyed
Yep.
Yeah.
on Vine in a pretty brutal way.
I honestly don't even know if it's a bit of a surprise right after what happened at Agent Select, but Chamber, we knew we were going to see
Yeah.
Chamber on this map, and I know, Jess, you were really impressed with Buzz here.
Oh, man.
So impressed we showed him twice.
I wanted to show him twice. You can see the M1 average for him on Chamber specifically. He's come in and just slightly shown us why he was one of the best Chamber players in Masters 1 there. He's coming to Masters 2 now. And whilst map 1 wasn't a terrible one for him, I really think this map 2 is where he shines. We spoke about Meteor and Jet being the one that's his agent. Well, for me, for Buzz, last Masters, I was like, wow, I love watching you on this agent. And now he was able to take that control time and time again. I think Buzz is a replication of a player that can consistently and accurately play his role. And he doesn't always have to be the guy that stands out and gets the most flashiest of plays. He plays it like Safe said yesterday. He does his job and he does it well.
I think when you start to think about what's before us, this is probably going to be very quick, right? It's probably going to be very brief.
It's Pansy and Hypog, so
Well,
it's going to go
let's
over
not
time.
jinx them. Let's not
It's
jinx
going to
them.
go over
But
time.
I will say this. I think on the side of DRX, for as good as you've looked, just get out of this thing cleanly, right? Like, don't mess with any nonsense. Get through this
Yep.
as cleanly as you can. I think it was Lauren who said it on the desk. DRX fans are happy right now, and for good reason.
Yep.
You expect a team of this caliber to dismantle Northeption on Vine, and that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, I love the evolution as well, because we know what DRX do when it comes to utilities, how they get on site, and there's some new Viper lineups in there, which I recognize they stole from EMEA, but I like this. They're innovating, as we said. This is what this team is good at, and as Doug said, if you're a DRX fan, you're going to want them to close this out, but Pansy and Hypog, let's see if they can do that.
Thank you. And yes, we will be looking at that and looking at the scoreline. Feels like that's the case. Now, Joe, if I'm wrong, Mike, don't know.
Show us a pistol round.
Show us, yeah, we'll start there. We'll start on the very,
Yeah, let's start from the
very
basics.
start. Right, let's run it back. Let's see what we can do. As we do have the frenzies coming out, and I want to see Meteor activated in this half. I need to see him being integral in this approach, and that's not a bad beginning.
Lots of utility. I mean, you can see complete contrast here with the fault line coming through, everything to try and put Meteor in the driving seat, find this opening engagement. Actually, the deep investment of smokes. Northeption, the perfect reader. They have full site control here with Buzz falling.
There's no
Four-man
strings
retake.
to this either, Mike. It's all CT, essentially. 1 towards heaven, 3 going to swing on through. They clear the close. No one's going to be tucked away at this point. You've got Jojo maybe first contact if they try and get through towards it. But it's RB to swing a little deeper, finds one, spots another. They've got to know there's problems now. They're going to force them to try and take the fight, because that defuse finally gets stops. DRX, though, pulling them out of these deeper positions. And this is done, Mike. It's done. Put a bow on it, wrap it up, fork in it, whatever you fancy. Done.
I mean, I made this point when we saw this at the start of this map too. There's not an awful lot of utility to use in a post plant. It all relies on finding massive value on the way in. They get 1 kill for it. After that, it's 21 damage. Literally here, this tag here, that's all Northeption get.
Oh. Well, they wanted experience.
I mean, just listening to the deaths too, you don't learn an awful lot from a defeat like this, honestly.
It is kind of hard to pull much away from it when it's so, just so clear cut. Yeah, so maybe more of a formality at this point, but we do wait and see. Again, Meteor trying to work his way forward. Stacks called into action. Actually eats the utility and has to be forced away.
A little bit of space created, but there's no follow-through. Nobody's willing to swing through this smoke, and rightfully so. This is a 3-man stack towards B. Zenfree, meanwhile, tried to make a little progress towards A, at least information gathering. I'm guessing about all he's figured out is that there's a trap on the other side of this box. With Marco and RB on the other side of this, they've got the snake bite combo with the paint shell. Can definitely slow down this hit. Even with the investment of the wall as well. Yeah, actually the wall kind of prevents some of these breach flashes to come through as well.
Okay, RB gets a little bit of chip damage on him. Yeah, you're right, yeah. 30 seconds. Marco just going to play in the corner, tuck himself away. Smoke going to come in, free fire on it. Here's the steps, takes the kills. That's already 2 gone. Now Stacks on the swing. The timing is gorgeous. And as is that scoreline for DRX fans, 13-1. That is how you win a game, and that is how you look like a favorite coming.